Shabbat Shalom, everybody, and you are welcome to this Shabbat of today. And this Shabbat of today is very, very interesting. All Shabbat, all parasha. All parasha are very interesting. All parashot are all interesting. But the parasha of today has a very, very strong, I can say, a kind of a very strong thought of understanding that we have individually and collectively has to understand as a person. Because this trait that we're going to talk about this morning is found in individual, each and every one of us. So the point now that we're going to discuss about this morning is how can we use this trait positively? How can we use this trait positively in our life? Because each and every one of us have what? Ego. Individually, we have I, we have me. But how can we direct this negative trait of in human life into positivity? How can we use it for the benefit of us, of our community, of our city, of our province, and of our country, and indeed the entire world? Because if you look at it from different angle, that I, in one sense, is the people always talk about it as what? As a negative trait. But that is nothing bad for you to have I or to have ego. But what type of ego do you have? Is it a destructive one? Is it a negative one? Or a positive one? That is, it's nothing bad for us or for you to respect yourself. Because if you don't respect yourself, nobody will respect you. You have to respect yourself. But in respecting yourself, do you put other people down? Do you step on other people in order for you to climb up? So this is what we're going to talk about this morning. The parasha of this morning is known as Parasha Korah. It's the name of a man. Korah means, sometimes we introduce as boldness, or sometimes they translate it as ice. Something that is cold, icy cold, boldness, So Korah is a man from the tribe of Levi. Okay, Korah is a man from the tribe of who? From the tribe of Levi, the same tribe where Moses came from, the son of Esau and of the son of Kohath. That is where he came from. So this morning I will begin the parasha. The parasha Korah relates another trouble to befall the children of Israel in the wilderness. This trouble took the form of an outright rebellion against the leadership of Moses, led by a prominent Levite called Korah. Okay, this is an outright rebellion. Understand? Remember that for the past three parashat we have been talking about trouble. From the past three parashat now, from the past 3 weeks, we have been seeing trouble upon trouble, and this started in parashat Behalotecha. We have Aaron and who? And Miriam speaking what? Speaking evil about their brother Moshe Rabbeinu. And God punished them because they spoke Lashon Hara. And last week we saw in Parashat Shlach that the spies that were sent to go and spy the land to see if it is good or not. These spies came back with a negative report. They make Lashon Hara against the land also. And now this week, we are seeing another Lashon Hara. We are seeing another problem which Korah and his cohort, they spoke against Moses and Aaron. You see, from one trouble to another trouble to another trouble, they were just going down into abyss. They were just going down into trouble. They were just going down into destruction. These people that God did a lot of miracle for, but still they don't understand. Or still there is a jealousy. There is a kind of me, I want to take position. I have to rule by force. So I subtitle this parasha of this morning, I subtitled it Korah Within. And every wise woman build a house. Every wise woman build a house. We are going to give a credit to a woman that actually persuaded her husband from taking part in the plot. From taking part from where? From taking part from the destruction. From taking part from the palace coup that were about to happen. So he says that a wise woman build a house, and an unwise woman destroy a house. So women are extremely important. For we said there's a saying that behind a great man is a great woman. There's a woman that is backing that man up, and behind a wicked man is a wicked woman who does not advise their husband and say, "No, continue. You know, Hashem is with you. Continue. The Lord is with you," when God is not with him. So this is what we're going to discuss about this morning. Within each and every one of us, we have Korah. Everybody has Korah of his own that is battling, that is dealing with individually, you know. But God is saying that this morning, how can you identify those Korah in your life? How can we identify those Korah in our life? And how can we get rid of this Korah? How can we remove them out of our life so that our life will become more meaningful? So that we can stop to jealous. Or we can stop to envy. I want us to understand that there is envy. Technically, it's not that it's bad, right? We have positive envy and negative one. Negative envy is to see your brother destruction, but a positive envy is like, oh, I see my sister. Oh, look at my sister there. You know that sister. Sister Ruben, or I mean, just give a name. Sister Sarah, look at her. You know, I want to be like her. I want, you know, I want to what she achieved. I want to achieve the same thing. I want her to teach me how she achieved this thing. See, there is a saying also that says that bird of the same feather flies together. Right? You see, because you want to be like Sister Sarah, you do what? You get acquainted with her, understand, let her teach you. It brings you all others, teach you all the process that what she did to become who she is, so that you can follow all those process, so that you also can become like that. Not for you to come and say, okay, Sister Sarah, oh, look at it. No, that is not. So you can, you want to be like Sister Sarah, you act like Sister Sarah, not to seek the destruction of Sister Sarah. There are two types of people in the world: us and everyone else who does things that we will never do. Of course, all of these others look at us sometimes and say the same thing about things that we do. Some people even tend to migrate over time from one group to the other. They change when they change their mind about what constitutes a craziness. We have two types of people in this world. We have us and the rest. We have us and the rest. What is the difference between us and the rest? The difference between us and the rest is that we follow the Torah, and the rest does not follow. We have two types of people in the world: us and the rest. As God discussed with Abraham, you shall go to the other side. In here, you cannot know me. Here, nothing good will happen. Nothing good. For you to understand who I am, for me to reveal myself unto you, I have to take you from this side to the other side. Abraham was alone on the other side, and the whole world was on this side. It's always like that. It has been like that from the beginning. You cannot move or walk in the step of the Torah if you are not on the other side. Because the other side is narrow, is small, is tight, and only the wise is found there. While the other side is wide and big and express and millions and thousands are found there that lead into destruction. So my people, you have to be on the other side. Without on the other side, you cannot make it. Forget about it. You cannot walk in the Torah without you going on the other side. Because on this side, there is too much attraction. It attracts you and it binds you and you shame there forever. Materialism. Everything in their life is about materialism. Because that is the world that we live in. The world of the North Americans. The world of the Western world. Oh, time is money, time is money, time is money. Everything, money. Oh, no, I don't have time. You don't have time for the Torah. You feed the flesh while your soul is thirsty or is hungry. You drink for the flesh. Some people, you see them, they enter into the bathroom. They can spend 2 hours taking bath. They shine, they buy the most, I'm not saying it is bad, no. They buy the most expensive cream, put on the body, But remember, this body is manure. It's going back to where it comes from. You are not taking this body anywhere. But instead of you to buy the most expensive cream to cream your soul by the Torah, I don't have time for that. What I'm saying, I'm not saying that to buy cream and cream your body is bad. That is everything you have to do everything in a balanced form. The time for the Torah, the time for this, the time for that, as it is written, there is time for everything under the sun. Take your time for everything. Balance it up. Don't make it this way, that everything of your life is only about materialism, but the spiritualism, you don't give it down. We have to balance that up. We have to understand that. This is what we're going to talk about this morning. Have we been there when Korah rebelled against Moses, Rabbeinu, the only one to have talked to God face to face, so to speak, the only one that God called trusted in his house, who withstood against him or stood for him? Before answering this question, consider how many times while growing up you thought you know more than the higher authorities and wanted to do things your own way. You know, remember that? All of us are like that, you know. Mama said, oh, you know, I'm a teenager. I'm 16 years old. I'm 17 years old. I'm, 18 years old. I know more than my mama. Mama, no. Mama, you don't understand. This is the new world. Mama, my mama, the mama that born you. The mama that has been on the planet before you. The mama that raised you up. Suddenly, she's a fool. Your papa that make everything for you when you were young, you couldn't sleep. The papa did not sleep. Suddenly, that man becomes stupid, and you are the wise man, or you are the wise girl. Suddenly, because that is who we are individually. We tell our parents, "Oh, mama, you don't know," because we are in this, energy. We want to prove to the world that we know more than everybody. This is what Korah was about to prove. Moshe, forget this man. This man is a trick. This man is what? Is a trick. Wanted to trick us. He's a lying. He's a liar. Don't forget about him. He's lying. You see, he took us away from Egypt, from the land that flowed with milk and honey, and brought us to this desert where nothing. We only eat manna. We eat only manna. In Egypt, at least, we eat fish. We eat chicken. We do kokoroko. We eat cow. We eat goat. But in the wilderness, only manna. Come on, this is not right. At least we can go to the Nile and fish. No river, nothing here. You see, he's tricking us. He convinced the men. He lied to them. Remember that Korah was a wealthy man, was a very rich man. So people say that he became rich. Suddenly, some of our sages, they said that he found wealth that Joseph, Joseph, the son of Jacob, that he found the wealth of Joseph where Joseph hid it. So he discovered it and he found it and he took it and he became rich suddenly. But to me, personally, if you ask me, I'm talking about personally, I don't believe in that, because Joseph has children. Joseph has Manasseh and Ephraim. Joseph would have told them where he hid his properties. You know, so to me, I think our sages were trying to, you know, to polish. I don't know why they started to polish the image of Korah, because we understand and we know that Korah was a slave trader in Egypt. Korah was part of those people that the Pharaoh were using to enslave his own brothers, just as we find them also in the Second World War. And when we speak about that, nobody wants to hear about that. Nobody. Hitler was using other Jews to oppress other Jews, and he's paying them. And these are Jews. Hitler was using other Jews to oppress other Jews. This is the work of Korah, exactly. Korah was being used by Pharaoh as a master over the Israelite there. You know, to a point, okay, this one go here, this one is good. So he get money. They give him money because the king is, you know, is using him to oppress his own fellow Jews. So he became very, very wealthy. He became much wealth. And there is respect, right? People fear him. Korah, 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 Korah. But in the wilderness, we are all equal. No more fear. We are all free. We are all free men. No one in bondage. And that was the plan of Korah. The plan of Korah was to take Israel back to Egypt to enslave them so that he can become a master over them. He said, we will remove Moshe. We will remove Moses out of the way and we take them back to Egypt so that I can become master over them, so that I can become more wealthy and more rich and oppress them more. So we have Korah in individual. We have Korah in people's life. We have Korah in our life. So we have to get rid of this Korah, this evilness that you see that your brother is doing fine, your brother is doing well, and you want to destroy your brother. You want to eliminate your brother because he's doing well. The sage said Korah has the soul of who? Of Cain. Korah has the same soul of Cain. What is the soul of Cain? The soul of Cain said, I don't give a damn. Why are you asking my brother from my hand? Am I my brother's keepers? He replied to the Holy One, blessed be he. God asked him, Cain, where is your brothers? Who are you to ask me? Am I my brother's keepers? Did you commit him to my hand for me to protect him? I don't know. God said, the blood of your brother is crying, and his blood has come into my ears. I can hear it. Because you did this and this and this and this and this, this is the consequence. Alright? The same soul we find in Korah, and the same soul we find in many of the people in the world today. I don't give a damn. I don't care, because I am not I am not your keeper. But behold and lo, we are all brothers, and we have to keep one another. I pray for you. Remember, I said it. You pray for me. We are one other's keepers in the sight of God. But the problem is that man has a very shallow mind. Look at Miriam spoke evil against Miriam and Aaron, to be clear, spoke evil against their brother. They thought in their mind they are speaking evil against who? Against Moshe. But no. It's not against Moshe. They are speaking Lashon Hara against God. Because Moshe or Moses did not call himself. You know, Moses, who was a shepherd, was just doing his own job. Then suddenly somebody saw something. Oh, let me go and see. Let me go. Oh, Moses. Oh, who is this? Who is there? I send it to what? To Pharaoh. You shall deliver my people. Moses never sent himself. You are not speaking evil against Moses, but you are speaking evil against him who called Moses. That is how God sees it. See, the perspective, I keep on saying every time, the Torah is all about perspective. If you can see in this spectrum of light, it's all about perspective. In the Miriam perspective, we are all prophets. I am a prophet. I prophesy. Oh, Aaron, are you not the prophet? You prophesy. Is Moshe not the prophet? Moshe prophesied. So all of us are the same prophet. No one is higher than the other. You know, human rights or feminism. I'm sorry to say so. Feminism. We are all the same. What man can do, a woman can do better. I'm not saying it's not true. There's some truth there, right? But in this case, it's different. How? You can say, Rabbi, how is it different? Because Moses, as a man of God, does not need a sacrifice to see God. No. Moses goes directly before God, and when God called him, he goes directly, he needs nothing. God even said that he's a man that me and him speak face to face. He's a man that is righteous in all my house. Not so like you. Not so. For me to reveal myself to you, I speak to you in dreams. But Moses, not in dream, face to face. It's different. So let's go back again to last week. Parashat Shlach. The spies, they came back. Oh, the land is good, but they were giants. They are giant, big giant men. The Nephilim, they are all there. We are like grasshopper in their eyes. You see, self-defeat. They've already defeated themselves. And these men that went, they were not ordinary men. The Torah mentioned their names. These are princes. These are generals in the army. If generals go on spies mission and come back and begin to talk negative, how can ordinary soldier go? Because the soldiers are what? They are demoralized. They are paralyzed. Because the general said you cannot conquer. Okay, we cannot conquer. The spies, in their head, they think that they come to give a message. But the message is built on negativity. It is not a positive message. It's a message that demoralizes the mind of the people. They thought they want to say what they saw, but actually it is evil. It's the Lashon Hara. And they thought they want to speak Lashon Hara against the land of Israel, but they are speaking Lashon Hara against God. What is the meaning of Lashon Hara? Evil speech, not good speech. You can see here again the same Lashon Hara. Korah stood up. He said, "Who are you? It is too much for you. You took us out of the land of what? Of Egypt, where there is what? Where there is milk and honey." Can you imagine? The land of Egypt, where there is what? Milk and honey, and you brought us to this wilderness where there is nothing. Is that the story? Is that the story that we read in the book of Exodus and the later end of Genesis? That wasn't the story. The story where these people were suffering and dying, and they were being punished, and they were working in pure slavery. And they were like, "Oh God, help us, help us, help us." God came down to help them, and now they changed the story, and they said, no. It is a land that flows with milk and honey. We have people like that in the world now. Everything that happened during the Second World War, many people, many nations, they want to reverse it back. A lot of countries in Europe, they are now even rehabilitating Nazism. They are rehabilitating Nazi. They say Nazi is good. You know, the ideology of Nazism is good. They are rehabilitating it because we want to be against so country. I don't care. That is a fact. But why must we rehabilitate what we know that it is evil? These people died. Nazi. What if Nazi should have conquered? None of us will be alive. All of us would have been slaves to German forever. Right? But people, they don't think about that. 70 years or 75 years, they turn the story upside down. Even though many people in the United States, they are rehabilitating Nazism. They close their eyes and say, okay, you can do Nazism. In Europe, in a country like Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, you see them in the broad daylight. They have special holidays for Nazism. They parade with their SS group, the deadly paramilitary of Nazi SS. They slaughter people like chicken. You see them openly, and America closed their eyes. Oh, continue. It's good. It's good. What type of life is that? In Ukraine, the same thing. Oh, broad daylight. What type of life is that? And you forgot 70 years ago, 75 years ago, what people suffered before they can conquer, and now it is good. So this is what we are saying. Egypt, that they were dying like chicken. They were crying unto God, and now it's not even 2 years. They changed the story. They say it is a land that flows with milk and honey. So if it is a land that flows with milk and honey, why did you cry to God that God should come and save you? Then you should have remained there and stay there and die and be wiped out. You see, the problem is not the people. The problem is the leadership, the political leadership. Our political leadership, they want to play with the mind of the people because of their own evil agenda. Because of their own evil agenda. Korah was one of the leaders. He was wealthy. He was rich. He wanted to use his money to do what? To buy everybody. He can use his money to buy everybody. Yes, there are some people that went along with him. Like, the 250 princes. These are men of honor. The Torah said, these are great men. But they were deceived by Korah. You might think that we have all kind of wisdom, understanding. But we have to be very careful in what we do. People can sneak in and begin to deceive you. And you think, oh, it's right. You say, are we not all holy? We are all holy. God is in our midst. Now, let's look at the speech. All the people are holy, and God is in their midst. Was that a lie? It wasn't a lie. It was true. The people are holy, and God is in their midst. That is true. So now, what is a false? What is evil? Is the intent of the mind of the man. The intent of the mind of the man that is speaking that word, because his intent is to use that word to deceive the people and get their attention and use it to overthrow Moshe. But that didn't work because God was with him. He said, tomorrow we shall see who God is with. Is it God? Did I call myself? Or did God really call me? Tomorrow we shall know. Take a fire pan. Let everybody bring fire and incense before God. And let God choose. And let God show who is the servant. And whoever God choose, God will draw close unto himself. That is it. That is a fact. The fire descended from God and consumed the 250 men. There was a plague. Korah and his cohort were entered into the ark. The ark opened her mouth and they went in there. Right? And again, a plague was in the midst. Then, these are the people that they were talking against. Moshe and Aaron. Aaron has to stand up again to make sure that the plague comes down. Stop. Because the people begin to die. Moshe told Aaron, take your fire pan, take a coal from the altar and put incense and begin to spread the incense. If it is most of us now, we will have said, I will never do that. Let them face their consequence. Because they talk evil against me. Now God is punishing them. That's what we're going to say. Say, oh, it's good. Yeah. Let me sit down and relax. Let me look at their end. Right? But Aaron didn't do that. Aaron still went to go and rescue them. Sometimes your enemy might be in trouble. God is judging him. That is why Yeshua said, do not laugh. Don't laugh. Don't say, hey, thank God, that man is suffering, it's my enemy. God is judging him now. No. Instead of that, pray for him. Don't laugh. Because God said, if you laugh, God might remember and see, okay, because you laugh, God might heal him. And then you will face the consequence again. So, when you see something that is going wrong, our job as a man of God, as a child of God, as a children of God, is for us to do justice. I always say that justice is the key. The Torah cannot overemphasize that. Every time, justice. What is right? What is good? That is what God always wants us to understand. So, to just quickly round up, I've spoken a lot without even reading my commentary here. All right. So let's see here that. To quickly round up, I would quickly want to talk about a woman, this woman that actually stood up and saved her husband, and saved her home, and saved her house. Alright, as the Talmud pointed out, Korah might not have gone the full distance to challenge Moshe Rabbeinu had it not been for the former's wife, that is for Korah's wife. who back up her husband. Behind every great man is a great woman, and apparently an evil one behind an evil man. Ben Pelet, wife, saved him from disaster by convincing him out of the madness. Korah's wife did the opposite and shared the fate of her husband and family. Korah's genealogy stopped with Levi and omit the name of Jacob because the patriarch prayed on his deathbed in Genesis chapter 49 verse 6 that his name not be associated with Korah assembly. And let us quickly see Genesis chapter 49 verse 6. Genesis 49 verse 6. Let's see what it said. Verse 6. Alright. Into their conspiracy may my soul not enter. With their congregation do not join. Oh, my honor. Oh, my honor. For in their rage they murder people, and at their whim they hamstrung an ox. So when Jacob Abenu was dying on his dying bed, he was blessing his children, and that is why he said, in their assembly may my name not be mentioned. And you see, because he has foreseen what is going to happen in the ahead of time in future. We can see here in Parashat Korah verse 16 chapter 1, he said, Korah son of Izhar, son of Kohath, son of Levi, and he stopped. But Levi is the son of Jacob. He didn't say the son of Jacob. Jacob's name was omitted because Jacob had foreseen what is going to happen. He said, please don't mention my name. I don't want to be involved. I don't want to take part. I don't want my name to appear in this mutiny, because this is a mutiny against God. They thought they don't want to do mutiny against Moshe, but it's not a mutiny against Moshe. It's a mutiny against God. And for a man to stand against God, I pity that man. You know, it's just a pity, because you know from the beginning that this is doomed to fail. You cannot stand against your Creator. It is not possible. For your Creator knows everything about you. He created you. So what is the sense of you trying to even try? So the wife of Pelet is not mentioned here, her name, but we know through the Talmud that this woman did a very great job. And let's see quickly. He said, meanwhile, Korah's wife joined the rebel and said to him, to Korah, see what Moses has done. He himself has become king. His brother is anointed. He anointed his brother as Kohen Gadol, the high priest. His brother's son he made vice high priest. If a teruma is brought, that is the sacrifice, gift, it decrees. Let it be for the priest. If the tithe is brought, which belongs to you, that means to the Levite, he order give a 10th part of it to the priest. Moreover, he has had your hair cut off, and make sport of you as though you were dead, for he was jealous of your hair. You see, the woman poisoned the mind of her husband against Moshe. No. You see, all these things that is given to the Levite, Moses took everything and give it to his brother, give it to his own family. Everything is about family. This is what? Nepotism. You know nepotism? Nepotism is when a man took all his family alone and put them in all the higher places. So he's the prime minister, the son is the vice prime minister, the wife is the defense secretary, the daughter is the minister of external affairs. Only his family, he put all his family everywhere. That is what the wife was thinking. That is what is called nepotism. Nepotism, you put all your family in the government, only your family.
Wow.
You know. So that is what the wife of Korah was thinking. He said, Moses put everybody, all his family, Miriam, Aaron, the son of Aaron, everybody, all his family, not us. That is wrong. This is not right. You see, as usual. But it is not Moshe. it is God that commanded Moshe. That's it. Because they are what they are short-sighted. Moses didn't come and say, okay, Aaron, you are the high priest. No. God said, your brother, you and your brother, go. It is God. And God said, okay, this man who's your brother, the son shall be, after him shall be what? Kohen Gadol. It is God appointed, not him. Moses was just an instrument. Many people say, and Moses delivered Israel from Egypt. That is a lie. It's a pure lie. Moses never delivered Israelites from Egypt. God delivered Israelites from Egypt. Moses was just an instrument. That is it. God himself will not come down. If he wants to come down, he can come down. It's his choice. That is him. If he wants to do that. But God always uses fellow human beings. If God will help you, God will use fellow human beings like you to help you. Moses was just an instrument of God to deliver them. That is it. God himself was the one that delivered Israelites from Egypt, not Moshe. And God is the one that is telling him what to do. Why are these people thinking that it was Moses' idea to do all these things? Because in their eyes, they saw Moses as God. It's not. Moses is a human being being used by God, and that is it. So they thought, okay, since it's a human being, we can just move in and I put my husband there. Because I want to be called the first lady of Canada. You know? If we be moving, then me I will become the first lady. All the women will be bowing down. Then they will be marching over them, you know. These are evil people. And it's so sad that is what we have in our political life in these days. Politicians, how many of them even understand God? How many of them even fear God? How many of them even follow the path of justice, the path of the Torah? You know? One thing I want us to understand, one thing I want us to take home, even though we don't take anything home, one thing I want us to take home here is removing the Korah in our lives. There are Korah in individuals' life. There are that things, you know, that is chewing your mind, that is chewing your soul, that is disturbing you, that making you not to progress. God said, take it away, eject it, remove it. And for our women, you should be like the wife of On, the son of Palet. What did she do? She hid her husband. Because the husband told her, I have already taken oath to be part of this coup, or this palace coup. The wife said, no. Who are you? Even though if you follow Korah, and Korah became the leader, you are Reubenite. It is nothing. Korah will not give you anything. You are not part of Levi. You are not the son of Levi, because the Levites are the one that God give everything to. So even though if you follow him to do all this stupidity, you are what? You will get nothing. He said, but I've taken an oath. He said, okay, don't worry, I'll figure it out. She made her husband drunk. She intoxicated him and made him to go and sleep, put him inside. And she removed her hair. And we understand what does that mean when the woman remove her hair. Normally, a woman, you have to cover your head. Everybody, your hair has to be covered. Because when your head is open, in Kabbalah meaning din, meaning judgment. And they understood perfectly well. The man, Korah sent the man to go and call him. The woman opened her head and sat in the front of her house. And by law, you cannot pass as a man, because God is in them. They understood that. Right? They can't do that. They can't go in because the woman opened her head and she's sitting down. Where's your husband? Oh, he's drunk. He's just sitting down there. They cannot go in. They went back. That was how God saved On, the son of Palet. All the rest were destroyed, were killed together with Korah. But he did not die because the wife took him out at the last moment. A wise woman built a house. A foolish woman destroyed her house. You see, that is it. The wife of Korah destroyed her own house. Because of what? Because of evilness, because of jealousy, because of pride, because of ego. So the most dangerous thing is for a man to be fulfilled of himself, and again for that man to be super rich. It's a bad recipe, a bad one. A rich man and a proud man is a bad recipe. It's a recipe for disaster, because he's proud and is rich. Oh, it's not good, not good. So we can see that is in the life of Korah. So God wants us to remove our pride. That I'm not saying you should not, like, difference between respecting yourself and pride. Understand that. You have to respect yourself. It's good. Self-respect is very wonderful and it's good. But when you become proud, proud meaning that, oh, there is nobody, only me. Nobody is seen in the world, only me. I, ego. Remove it. God doesn't want that. And the work of God for us individually and collectively is for us to seek Him. To seek justice, to seek what is right, to follow the Torah, to feed our soul, not only the body. Let's balance it up. That is why we come to the synagogue, right? Every Shabbat, to learn more understanding, to have understanding, and to apply it in our life. Not to enter here and it goes out here. There's no benefit. You rather even stay at home and do whatever you want to do. If the word of God will go out, come in here and go out here, and you don't use it. Right? We have to use it. We have to apply the word of God in our life, individually and collectively, and step by step. I know it's not easy. You know, the Torah said the path is narrow, but it's straight. It's a straight path. Straight. But it's narrow. Well, it's not comfortable because it's a yoke. The Torah is a yoke. You put it on your head, on your shoulder. It's a yoke. It's heavy. Because what you cannot do, there's a lot of things that you cannot. It's not that you cannot do it, but you don't want to do it because you follow the Torah. And there's a lot of things that the people of the world do. They call it, we are free. That is freedom. Actually, that is slavery. Okay? Because the devil turned the upside down. The enemy turned it upside down, telling them that they are free, but actually they are enslaved to death, to destruction. While you are free because you take the yoke of the Torah. You walk gently, step by step. So, my people, let us walk in the path of the Torah. And the Torah will lead us to what way? To eternal life. When we walk upon the earth and we grow up old and old and old and we pass away, our children will follow after us. They'll say, wow, this is the path of light, the path of life, the path of justice. Let us do what is right and we will be blessed. Korah, may God bless us and may we be blessed. Amen.